Hey guys, Tom Watkins here in the beautiful Matagalpa, Nicaragua once again, recording Bible Made Simple video series. If you're not familiar with what this is supposed to be a general overview, a summary of the books of the Bible, so that you can watch these in advance of reading it on your own and have a better understanding of what's going on. The Bible is a big, complicated, hard book to read. I get it. I know it is. It's intimidating. But hopefully these videos and videos like this will help you to be more confident in reading the Bible on your own so that you understand what's going on. All right, let's dive right into this. Today I'm going to talk about Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. It's not going to take forever. I know you're like, oh, goodness gracious, I don't have an hour to spend. I'm not asking for an hour. I can group all of these together, and you're going to see why in this episode, in this show, in this video. You're going to see how all of these books share so much of the same content, but they also have these differences, and how we can kind of group these together in order to understand what's going on. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are what's called the four Gospels of the Bible. The Gospel of Mark, the Gospel of Luke, you get it, okay? But what is the Gospel? The Gospel is the good news. Okay, what's the good news? The good news is Jesus Christ. The good news is that Jesus was sent here to earth to be God in the flesh in order to atone and save us from our sins, in order to change the world. This is what the Old Testament pointed to. All of the Old Testament pointed to, boom, Jesus coming. In fact, this event was so pivotal for the world. This is such a tipping point that we base our timeline on it. Okay, like 80 BC, before Christ, after death, like, this is such a big deal that, like, this is 0.0 here. Like, it's a big deal, a huge deal. That's why it's good news. And you're going to see specifically why it was good news if you read the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. As I said before, they share a lot of the same content, but they also have some differences. Some people think that because of this, the Bible is inconsistent. That's not the case. These are four accounts, four perspectives of the life of Jesus Christ. Picture this. You have a bank that's robbed and you have a few witnesses. The bank is robbed, the police come, they start to interview the witnesses. Some are going to say he was wearing a blue shirt, some are going to say he was wearing a brown shirt. Some will say he was 6 foot tall and went through that door. Some will say he was 5 foot tall and went through that door. But they're all going to agree that a white male wearing a ball cap robbed the bank sometime between 12 and noon. There's going to be some things that are the same. There's going to be things that are different. This is very normal. This is a normal way to account for a scenario, because different people are going to remember things a little bit differently. They're going to have different things that were important to them, that stood out to them, that's going to stick in their mind. And things that they consider a little less significant, they might gray a little bit and fuzz and mix. But this is a very normal way for an event to be remembered by more than one person. So it does not, in fact, make this inconsistent and show that the Bible is wrong. If anything, it proves that it's more likely to be real, because it is real. All right. How are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John the same? I've done all of these kind of accounts and the research on these different four Gospels, and I've kind of simplified and said, okay, where have I found these consistencies? Where are things the same? Here, we're going to go over some points about how all four of these books, what things are all four of these books going to share. First of all, they're all about the life of Jesus Christ. They all focus on accounting for and showing the life of Jesus Christ and who he is and why he was here. The first part of the books are going to be this introduction to Jesus Christ, who he is, why he's here, and what he's going to do. Then there's going to be this kind of launch or start to his ministry. So at some point, Jesus is going to launch into what he is here for, and that's teaching, preaching, and making disciples. And it's going to start here. And shortly after this starting point of Jesus' ministry, there's going to be this point in the book where it shows us the reality of the world, that not everybody believes Jesus is who he says he was and takes him at face value. That there's this divide, that some believe and some don't. And so it's going to show that there's a broken world, that everybody's just not like on board with this. Then it's going to go into a section where Jesus tries to prove who he says he is, that he is who he says he is. This is going to be done through miracles, signs, teaching in a very drastically different way than other rabbis and teachers at this time. and he's going to be doing things that only God can do. One of the things that Jesus does that is very like he stepped on some toes here, but he could do it. He's big enough he can step on whoever's toes he wants. He forgave people of their sins. The religious leaders and just about everybody in this time agrees that the only person, the only being that has the right to forgive someone for their sins is God himself. And by Jesus taking this on and saying to multiple people, this was a very common thing for him to do, and say, you are forgiven of your sins. This was a big deal. That is something that really, like, everybody unanimously agreed that only God can do. This is not a magic trick. And if you are, you are really, stepping out on a limb there by saying that. But he could, because he was Jesus. He was God. He was on the same level. He could do that. So then it's going to enter this time of teaching and preaching. And so after this, this doubt is created, and then he's going to be doing these miracle signs, teaching and preaching, and he's going to be working through his ministry. And there's going to be that time, and this is where the books get a little different, and we'll go over that in just a minute. But there's going to be this period of time where Jesus is intentionally proving who he says he is, and really trying hard to teach people very important lessons on life. Specifically, he's teaching people how to follow him and how to teach others to follow him. That is his entire goal. His entire goal was to come here to save us, to make disciples who make other disciples. That was the point. As he goes on through these teachings, one of the biggest things that he does in every single one of these books is he takes our values and expectations of the Messiah and turns them upside down, turns them on our head. Like I said, the entire Old Testament points to the coming of Jesus Christ. This was a big deal. This was a big event. This is what you've been waiting for. This is a big deal. But because we're human, we had these warped views of who we were expecting. It became very clear to Jesus that some of us were expecting this tall, dark, and handsome, muscular, what's the term? Like a sergeant or a no, I can't think of the term for it. But we were expecting a military general. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. We were expecting somebody who was, really physically powerful. Because that's what we viewed as power. That's how we viewed power. But Jesus said, no. You're thinking of this wrong. I have the power of God. I have these powers. I am here waiting for. But you need to think about this in a different perspective. He who is first will be last, and he who's last will be first. In order to be raised up and become live in my kingdom, you need to first serve others. There's this upside down kingdom idea that is portrayed in all four of these books, where Jesus takes everything and just says, whoop, flips it over and says, you're looking at this the wrong way. So as he's doing this, he's getting closer and closer to his last few days in Jerusalem. He comes into Jerusalem. He continues teaching these very countercultural ideals to the people. He goes into the temple. He causes disruption in there because people are abusing what the temple's space, and they're being very hypocritical about it. They're using it for their own profiteering. They're doing terrible things in the temple, and he chases them out. And then the Pharisees, the religious leaders at this time, begin to really drill him, really question him, and he is sticking to his guns. Hang on a second. He is really sticking to his guns, and he continues to preach these things and teach these things that are very opposite of what they thought about God. It upsets people. It upsets the religious leaders a lot. So you've heard the expression, if you can't beat them, join them, right? Well, the Pharisees were more like, if you can't beat them, kill them. I know, very drastic. But that's what they did. They were so upset that they could not figure Jesus out, that they could not beat him in the way that they thought that, and shame him and put him in his place, that they decided, well, fine, we'll kill him. He is not who he says he is. He needs to go. He's being disruptive. That's what they do. So this happens. The Pharisees make this plot to kill Jesus, and then it comes up on this holiday. There's this Jewish tradition called Passover. So every year they have this meal that is called Passover. If you want to know about Passover, look back in the Bible Made series about the Torah. We talk about how that came into effect there. So there's this feast, this meal called the Passover. This one was specifically important because this was Jesus' Last Supper. We call it the Last Supper. Jesus met with his disciples and partook in the Passover meal. At this meal, he explains what is about to happen. He explains that in order for this prophecy to be fulfilled, in order for him to actually be who he says he is, he will be arrested, sentenced, put to death, but don't worry, he will be back. He will be resurrected. This has to happen. Jesus explains that he is not surprised that all of these things are happening, that these people are upset with him, that his death is very quickly approaching. This is not a surprise to him, and he explains that this is necessary in order for him to actually be who he says he is. This prophecy has to be fulfilled. So Jesus explained what's going to happen. It confuses some of the disciples. It confuses all of them, but it goes on. It goes on. Life goes on. The night turns. The next day comes. Jesus is arrested. He is then sentenced to death by crucifixion. And then 3 days later, he is resurrected from the dead. They go to the tomb where he was put after he was crucified, and he's not there. And then, once they realize that Jesus is not in the tomb, Jesus then comes back one last time to present himself to the disciples to explain, hey, I told you. Okay, I tried to tell you guys. All right, I am who I said I am. I am who I said I am. Do you believe me now? Okay. They were like, I get it. Okay, we believe you. And Jesus says, good. Now this is what I need you to go do. And he gives them their instructions on how to continue to make other disciples. How are these books different? So all 4 of these books are going to follow this very similar timeline and share a lot of these same stories. But how are these books different? So Matthew seems to have this emphasis on Jesus' teachings. The book of Matthew is frequently going to talk about Jesus' teachings and how they were very different than other rabbis and teachers at the time. Mark seems to be more focused on his works, and so it's going to be mainly on the miracles. If you want to know a lot of the miracles, the great things that Jesus did, they're found in Mark. He seems to focus a lot on his works, Jesus' works. Luke focuses more on the orderly account of the life. He is, historian type precision, very fact-based. He uses history. He shows the fulfillment of Old Testament prophecies. There's a lot of the justification, the validity, the legitimizing, the proving that Jesus was who he said he was through showing all of these Old Testament prophecies that were fulfilled. And Luke focuses on that. He really wants to show people this really happened. There's also a lot of we'll go over that in a second. Okay, John focuses mainly on the proof that Jesus was who he says he was. So not through the fulfillment of the old prophecy, but through these explanations and stories that he did things that only God can do. John focuses mainly on saying, guys, do you not get it? He was who he says he is. He is who he says he is. There's another way that these books are a little bit different. Matthew focuses mainly on teaching others. So it's mainly Jesus teaching other people how to follow him and how to make disciples. Mark seems to focus on Jesus teaching the disciples. So you've got these two different, he's always teaching. Jesus is teaching every day. But Matthew talks more about when he's teaching other people, and Mark teaches more about when he's teaching the disciples. Luke focuses more on when Jesus showing stories where Jesus did things in public. So because he wanted to be this more historically accurate book, by sharing stories that others can account for, where Jesus was surrounded by other people and did things in front of other people, there's more of a this really happened kind of element, because it's mainly Jesus doing things in public settings. And then John is mainly stories that provide proof that God is who he says, that Jesus is God, that Jesus was the same as God, that he is who he says he is. And there's two things in John that are a little bit different than the other books. One is this very detailed account of the Last Supper and what Jesus was telling to the disciples before his final days. And there's also a little bit of a longer account of those final days, the arrest, the sentencing, the crucifixion, and the resurrection. There you go. There you go. That's all 4 books. That is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in the Bible, the 4 Gospels. I hope this has helped you understand how these books are similar but different, and how that's good, and can help you to prove that the Bible is real. I really invite you to dive in and read these books on your own, because obviously this is an overview, and you're going to get way more information actually reading this entire book, and you're going to see things that I haven't mentioned here that really show that Jesus Christ was different and is different than anybody else who has ever lived. Thank you for spending your time with the Bible Made Simple video series. You're also welcome to check out our podcast, the Contagious Faith Podcast. It's on all major platforms. Subscribe to our content. Subscribe to the videos and the podcast, because as I continue to make more videos, you'll get them right away. You can follow along and work through this. We can do this together. Subscribe to our content so you get them quicker. If you'd like to partner with us financially and be a part of our ministry, you can do that through MVI, missionaryventuresinternational.org/Watkins, or check out our website, trekministries.com, TRKKministries.com. Also, if you guys are personal friends with us, you see our stuff on our Facebook, or you can check us out. We're not hard people to find if you want to see what we do more on a day-to-day basis. I love you guys so much, and I hope to see you in the next episode of Bible Made Simple. Have a great day.